This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you. Welcome to this installment of BSO Backstage, a concert preview. I'm your host, Desiree Duncan, and I'm joined with Music Director Dan Allcott.
Nice to be here.
And Executive Director Susan Luna. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here at Poets
It's a
Coffee
beautiful
on the
spring
Square.
day. I know. It's a great morning for some coffee.
Yes, it is. Always a beautiful morning here at Poets. So, the last concert, what a treat.
It was really a blast to come into March and start our spring with something a little bit different. We had a little bit smaller orchestra on stage, really focused in on string, pieces for the most part, and we were lucky to have as our guest performers the Cypress String Quartet. And they were in town for several days. They played a concert on Thursday evening. One of the pieces involved the students from the Tennessee Tech Orchestra accompanying them. And then they played a new work by a California composer that they're familiar with named Pablo Furman. It's the third or fourth time they've played this work, 35-minute work with the string quartet as featured soloists. Very energetic work, modern and a little bit angular, but just beautiful in places. And we were just happy that when they came off stage, we were backstage, and they said, that has never gone that well. So that's a testament to our really fine orchestra. And I told them, I said, I told you they could play. And so they were really excited to be here. That's one of the things that's fun about our organization is, one, we are having musicians from all around this area, as far away as Kentucky. Sometimes people come to play. We gather these musicians to play in our orchestra. But also when we are able to bring in special soloists from outside, it's so inspiring to us and to the musicians who are on stage. To me, brings energy into what we're doing. And frequently they have really heavy, influential contact with our students. And that's really cool, because when we were in rehearsal with them on Thursday afternoon before that concert, it was great. And there was a generation of students who had been here the last time the Cypress String Quartet came in and played at Tech, which was about 5 years ago, because we had some of our alums playing with us. And so that was just great to see that contact and to have the students really be excited and see them at the concert just kind of eating it up. So it's a neat thing about our organization, and that we're just bringing energy into the community all the time that way.
Yeah, it's nice that there's so many different arts organizations that are doing that, that makes things possible for Cookevillians and then folks in the region to get to experience as much as possible. And they also were in Oak Ridge? Or
right,
Oxford?
Yeah. Well, part of what had happened was, they basically, for a group like that, which they're not cheap, for them to come into the South, what happened was I kind of was able to anchor a little bit of a part of a tour for them. And then I was talking to them about this, 18 months ago or whatever. And because I have a relationship in Oak Ridge with the Oak Ridge Civic Music Association as well, I was able to anchor, about half of a week for them. And then their management worked hard and got them several other concerts. So they started kind of a mid-southern tour up in Kentucky, they stayed in Nashville for a couple days. And all the time they were finding places where they could teach and coach young people and then swing through here. But it was a busy few days for them. They spent Thursday night at the university playing a concert there. And then Friday morning they were doing coaching and teaching lessons at Tech. And then they went right over to WBIR in Knoxville and did our TV interview. And then they did their concert Saturday night in Oak Ridge. And then they came home that night and were at 9:45 rehearsal in the morning for us. So we kept them busy while they were in Tennessee. But a great group. And we had them here as a partnership with Tennessee Tech Center Stage, which presents lecturers and artists and musicians for students. And so that was a great collaboration. And we're able to do that. As you know, there's so many fine artists and musicians who live here in Cookeville and the Upper Cumberland, but we all need that energy, that infusion of energy. So that's really a neat thing that this relationship is able to foster.
And speaking of fusion, I know that there's a couple events that are going on that take place in a lot of local establishments. I know there's a fundraiser coming up, right?
Yes, we are having a fundraiser on May 5th. It's called Beers for Brahms, and it is in association with the Big Payback, which is a Middle Tennessee-wide fundraising event with the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee. And what the big payback is a 24-hour online giving day where you have a chance to give only online, and your funds could be matched depending on how much you give, when you give, other people that give, all sorts of things. But to celebrate this and hopefully bring in more donors, Father Tom's has offered to let us be there from 6 to 8 on May 5th, which is a Tuesday night, and we are going to be there, our staff and our board members and volunteers with iPads and laptops, walking around Father Tom's while people are hopefully drinking and getting a little more willing to give money.
Or just enjoying a fine meal.
Yes, yes. But there will also be a life-size cutout of Brahms if people want to take some pictures, hopefully get some social media, because one thing we're working on is trying to build our social media presence also.
And there's also an element in the Community Foundation has added into this that they're going to reward somebody with creativity.
Yes.
So the most creative event for the great payback or give back,
the big payback,
is gonna be available to or eligible for an award. So I thought, what a it's got alliteration and poetry. Beers for Brahms at Father Tom's. I thought we've got a good start, right? And if we get a really good, anybody who gives us a donation, which will be, as Susan said, accepting online donations at the site. So come on down to Father Tom's on Tuesday, May 5th between 6 and 8. And then we'll post your picture with Brahms on our Facebook site. So who could refuse?
Wow. Well, I was kind of hoping for a life-size cutout of Dan.
I'll be there.
Oh, we can do that.
Be there.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll
great.
be there. So, and I'll look as pasty as possible to match the one of Brahms, if you like. So.
Oh, lovely.
That's an extra donation, by the way. But that'll be a fun way. But it's also a great way for us to get to talk to. We have a lot of friends who already patronize Father Tom's. It's really fun. In fact, that's one of the places I usually go with our guest artists, and they're very nice. We provide a gift basket for guest artists when they come into town, and so usually they say, where should we go? I said, I think you have a gift certificate for Father Tom's. So we usually go there. In fact, I was there with the Cypress String Quartet on a Thursday night of their concert, and in walked Susan Luna and about 10 other people I knew. So it'll be a fun way to honor that relationship. They're very community-minded, obviously, at Father Tom's, really good community citizens. And I just thought it'd be a fun place to do this fun event. So if you want your picture taken with Brahms, Tuesday, May 5th, you know where to be.
Awesome. And honestly, Father Tom's almost kind of feels like a community center.
Right.
It does.
Yeah, it's a great place. It's rare that I'm there that I don't see a lot of people I know, which always makes people laugh. People who come here, people like the Cypress String Quartet, guest artists, that's one of the things they love about Cookeville. They come in and they'll have a cultivation event, and they'll see people, and our concert hall is sized that, there's 500 people there, and you can look down and you actually recognize people that you have seen before. I know for me that's always fun, especially the people that I know. I know where they sit now after years and years. But they really enjoy that, or they go out to a concert or they go out to an event, and someone will say, "Oh yeah, I read about your concert in the paper." And so we love being a part of this, really neat arts environment in Cookeville, and we're doing our best to foster that all the time.
And so, speaking of foster other relationships, I know with the after-concert dinners, I know it's been kind of exciting having a fixed menu for those each time. How's that been going?
The feedback that I've been getting is the food is delicious, and I feel the same way. And we are doing it again at Seven Senses this time with Chad Combs, who is the chef, who is fantastic. If you've never eaten anything that he has prepared, you should. And it is $30 per person, and you can make reservations. You must make reservations because he has to know ahead of time since it is selected menu and all that. So you can call the office, 525-2633, to make reservations. And it's always a wonderful time. We've had people who have not been coming to the post-concert dinners coming to these, so we're getting new people that come to concerts that we've not been able to meet yet. So it's been very good, and we're excited about it.
But speaking of getting a new audience, is that something that you see is happening maybe with having these outings at different locations than maybe we've done before?
Yes, I think we are building a new presence, and whether we are getting them to come to concerts yet, I'm not sure. That's to be determined, but we are definitely in people's heads more than we have been, which is one thing that I was really wanting to do this season.
It's a constant effort to, as you know, there are new people coming to the community all the time, and you have to reintroduce yourself to them. I know, like when I first moved here, I moved here during the great TV auction. And so I was staying in a house, a borrowed house at that point, and the great TV auction came on, and I thought, first of all, what the heck is this? But that was, an event that introduced WCTE to me. Mm-hmm. And so we are constantly looking at events, and it's great. Susan is bringing a lot of energy into trying to do different things. We need to do different things all the time because there are new people coming in. We can't assume that everybody knows what's going on. There's new people coming to this community is our target audience. We have a very steadfast audience. But people who've lived here for 40 years who have never gone to a Bryan Symphony concert are probably not going to go to a Bryan Symphony concert. But new people, when they come to the community and they discover all the things that Cookeville has to offer, that's why we have to keep mixing it up and doing new fun events. It also gives us energy. It's fun to do different things every once in a while. And also we're just kind of sharing the attention with some different restaurants at this point, and that's been really fun for us to do.
And that's funny that the Great TV Auction was your introduction. I think that's a lot of people's introduction to WCT is that, and especially folks that are coming in to work at Tech, they're usually coming in June to get ready for the fall. Right. So they're like, they flip through the channels and like, what is this?
Right. No, that's fine.
But yes, it's a great fundraiser for us. But I know you have some awesome sponsors for your concert as well.
Yes, for our final concert, our sponsors are Doctors Angelo and Jeanette Volpe and Luna and Heron Investment Group. And both of these sponsors are longtime supporters, not only as sponsors, but as volunteers. For those who come to the concert, you'll recognize Mr. Luna and Dr. Volpe as they are the head ushers. And they argue about who is number one head usher, but they're both the head ushers and will help you find your seat. So I'm sure you all recognize them or know them, but they're both great supporters of the BSO.
And for viewers who don't know, Dr. Volpe is the former president of the university. In fact, I didn't know that when I first moved to town because he had been retired for a few years, and he came up and introduced himself to me. And I was trying to figure out who this nice gentleman was, and probably made a faux pas. But he's been a great supporter, and they're, especially Angelo and Jeanette, love Italian composers. And so one of the pieces, this concert features another community collaboration because we're collaborating with the Tennessee Tech Choral and Cookeville Mastersingers. And one of the works is by Giuseppe Verdi, who's a favorite of the Volpes. Again, it's that kind of all these pieces of community coming together and people who really care about that. And I know that, like, when my mother comes to the concert, the first thing she does is reach out to find the head usher, who she thinks is Bob Luna, and he takes her to her seat. So these guys are great supporters of the symphony, and we really appreciate them.
We do appreciate them. We're going to take a little break, and we'll be back for more BSO Backstage, a concert preview. All right, Dan, so tell us about the next upcoming concert.
Well, I'm excited to finish our season. It's always an interesting time of the year for me because I'm looking back at all the excitement of the season and looking forward to next year. This is a super busy time when we're doing all kinds of fun stuff like talking about budgets and fundraising. But it's very exciting to be planning, the next thing and then keep my mind on what's in front of me, which is a big collaboration with the Tennessee Tech Choral and Cookeville Mastersingers, which are both choral groups that are directed by Dr. Craig Zamer, who's Director of Choral Activities at Tech. And so we're going to open the concert with two pieces. The first piece actually is just for the chorale, the university chorale, and the orchestra. And Dr. Zamer is going to conduct that one. It's a serenade by Vaughan Williams. It's called Serenade to Music. And it's actually... the text is lifted from Shakespeare, from The Merchant of Venice, in a discussion about the music of the spheres, which is kind of a philosophical treatise on planets and music and all the good things in music. And then the next work is a massive choral work by Giuseppe Verdi, who was well known as an operatic composer. We performed his opera La Traviata several years ago here with the Bryan Symphony. And this work is, he's written a lot of choral works. In fact, Verdi retired in about, I think it was 1887, after he'd written Aida, which is his biggest opera, and it was, I mean, this was a huge undertaking. It was, you know, the story took place in Egypt. They had live elephants on stage. It was a huge thing. And then he kind of retired because he was like, I'm out. I've done it all, right? And he lived a very long life. He lived till 1901. And in his older age, he mostly wrote smaller works and a lot of sacred works. So there's a set of 4 pieces, sacred works that he wrote, and we're doing one of those, and it's called the Te Deum. The Te Deum was basically an old text that was a hymn of praise that basically comes from the psalm tradition. And those of you who are familiar with psalmody, you know that there's a responsorial aspect to that. So one group says something or a leader says something and then there's a response. Well, in this case, so he wrote it for 2 choirs. So it's a double chorus, and that psalmody actually takes place within the work. It's a great, great work. He even described it as kind of a miniature dramatic representation, as great as his great Requiem Mass, which was the other thing he wrote in the same time that he was in retirement. So always fun to perform music by Verdi. There's a great quote from one of my favorite, probably my favorite living conductor, who's Riccardo Muti, who's an Italian, who conducts the Chicago Symphony. And he said, the thing about Verdi's music is that Verdi describes the feelings that we all have. And not all composers are like that. Like when I do a piece by Beethoven, I'm reaching for Beethoven's intellect and philosophy and his humanness. I'm reaching. I'm trying to get to where Beethoven was. But Verdi is a guy who he expresses all of our feelings. If we were more talented, we would be able to say what Verdi is saying for us. And so it's a great work. And I know people are really going to like it. And it's fun to have the combined choirs and the huge complement of brass players in the orchestra. I think people will really enjoy that. And after the intermission, we're playing 2 Russian works from 2 very different time periods. One was by a composer named Mikhail Glinka, who was actually a contemporary of Verdi's in the early 19th century. And Glinka, at a time when Russian court life and artistic life really mirrored European life, they hadn't found their own voice yet, because even in the imperial court, people spoke French rather than Russian in the early 19th century. He traveled abroad. He went to Italy and was trying to pick up on the strengths of like Italian opera composing. And he took these ideas back home and started trying to create a Russian version of that. So the music of Glinka sits well with Verdi and these other works. It's kind of familiar. He suffered a little bit later in that one of his great operas was called The Life of the Tsar. And so when the Soviet Union came into being, they didn't talk about czars anymore. And so this music was absolutely banned for 60, 70 years. You never heard it in the Soviet Union, although it remained popular here. So we're going to do an overture from one of his operas to start the second half. And then we're playing a symphony by probably the greatest symphonist of the 20th century, who was a Soviet composer named Dmitri Shostakovich. And when I say Soviet, he was really a Soviet composer, not just a Russian, but he endured all the good and bad that was the Soviet Union. He suffered 2 great denouncements by Stalin. Shostakovich was known to have kept a suitcase packed in his bedroom should the secret police come in the night to cart him off to Siberia or worse. It was very easy to offend in that situation, in that police state. And so Shostakovich wrote music that's a little bit cryptic. Sometimes you don't really know. He's trying to say one thing to the authorities, but he's trying to say another thing, I think, to the audience. And the piece that we're playing is the Symphony Number 9. It was written right at the end of World War II. And it was not well received because everybody, including Western critics, expected a great mournful symphony as a requiem kind of to the suffering of the millions of people in the Soviet Union who died in World War II. And the Soviet authorities kind of expected the same thing. And I think Shostakovich, again, in that time when he was a little afraid to offend, kind of backed off. And he wrote one of his lighter symphonies. So out of historical context, we can hear it and delight in this piece. It's more like a Haydn symphony than it is, like a big, great Russian symphony. It's light. It has a little darkness behind it and a little modernity. I always think it's as if Haydn had been exposed to modern machinery. It's clever and witty in a lot of places, and a real barn burner at the end. And we are going to play really loud and fast. And so it's an exciting piece for the audience to hear, and a great way to end our season. And we'll be talking a little bit. We'll have subscription information available for next year, and we're excited to end this season with a bang, and then looking forward to a great season next year.
So yeah, with the close of the season means, the opening of the next season for maybe some season ticket holders.
Yes, the season tickets will be on sale for new subscribers and for renewals before the concert and after the concert. We'll have a big table, have all the forms, and you can pay then, or you can take a form with you and mail it in or call the office. Any way you want to renew or buy season tickets, we will make it happen. So, and we will also have a preview of some sort of what the programming for next season will be at the concert, so people won't blindly be buying.
So maybe for someone that's catching the show that's not familiar with the BSO, what does having a season ticket mean?
First off, it is a little bit cheaper if you go ahead and buy the full season tickets, and you're also guaranteed your seats. Some people are very particular about what seats they want, and if you buy season tickets, you get those seats for the whole season. There's no chance of anyone else taking them.
Right, especially for people who are renewing right now.
Yes.
You want to sit where you're sitting right now. You need to renew right now because we have to make plans. The other thing is we have about 500 seats in our hall. We wish we had 650 because there are times when it gets pretty close with whether we're going to be able to sell all the tickets or not. And so we frequently have over 400 subscribers for those 500 seats. So people who are new to the community and want to see 5 great concerts by a professional orchestra, it's amazing all the time. It's our new subscribers or people who visit a concert for the first time cannot believe how good the orchestra is. I couldn't believe when I got here, when I was hired, how good the orchestra is. So this is a great opportunity to guarantee your place. And it also helps us plan for our future. We need that security of subscribers. We need the people saying, yes, I believe in the Bryan Symphony and what you're doing, and helps us move forward into the next season with confidence. And there's a lot to offer next year. And if you come to the concert, you get the first peek at what's happening because I've got some great things programmed.
And speaking of supporters of the symphony, like your board members, do they typically come from folks that have been season ticket holders for a while, or?
Do our board members people who have been season ticket holders?
Yeah, like how, the people that actually come in to enjoy the concerts are those the folks that then go on to maybe, help lead the direction?
Yes, we do look at our audience already, because those are the people who are into the BSO already. We don't have to, and they know about it, and we don't have to explain it to them. So yes, we do try to look to our audience and find people who are motivated and want to help the BSO to be on the board and be in leadership positions.
And additionally, we look at what we need on our board. You know that a good board of directors has to have legal counsel and financial counsel, and you want a broad spectrum. You want different people of different ages and backgrounds so that you're really reflective of the community. That helps balance our decision making. When we go into a board meeting and talk about what we're doing, I want the responses of a varied group, not just people who I don't want to pack the board with just people who agree with everything I do. And on occasion, if I never have anybody disagree with anything I do as far as programming or this, then I would know that I'm failing. Because if you're only taking the safe route, or if you're only having people that agree with you give you feedback, that's not healthy anyway. And I really rely on that feedback and kind of getting to know what people are interested in. And then you find people like Dr. Volpe, who he's been on the board many times since he's been in Cookeville, on and off. Who's a fan of, and he always kids me when we're going to do an opera. He goes, "It's an Italian opera, right?" And there are other operas, by the way, but are in different languages. I have to tell him that all the time. But that kind of feedback. There are those people who are then saying, "I have the energy. I want to give." Maybe more than just my financial help. I want to help with the board. And some of that is just connections. And a lot of our businesses have dedicated time for employees that they want to be also reaching out into the community. You have, banks frequently have a vice president for community relations or something. Well, if they want community relations, we can help them. So if there are people who are not subscribers who think that they need to be connected or would like to be connected to the community, serving on a board of directors for a community organization is a great way to get to know people. You don't have to be a long-standing member of the community. It's just as likely that you may have something to give if you're a new member of the community. We need those people's perspective as well. So frequently people come in, first of all, they come in as a volunteer of some sort, and they want to do something extra, and we find them and we look to them as the next group of good board leaders that lead us into the future.
Yeah, over the years of being back here in Cookeville, I've gotten to know some of the board members, and so I'm very impressed with what they've been doing the last several years. So if you can give us some more information, Susan, about how they can get tickets to this show and maybe get season tickets for next year.
If you call the BSO office at 525-2633 for tickets to the April concert, or season, well, not yet season tickets. After Sunday, you can call the office for season tickets. Or reservations for the post-concert dinner at Seven Senses. Anything you think you might want to do with us, you can just call the office. You can also email me at sluna@bryansymphony.org. That might be if you're not a phone person. I know some people aren't.
I'm not.
So
and don't forget also that we want everybody to show up at our favorite place, Father Tom's.
Yes.
On Tuesday, May 5th from 6 to 8. Beers for Brahms at Father Tom's. Brahms will be there. Susan will be there. Yes. I'll be there. Desiree, you'll probably be there.
I'll probably be there.
You'll probably be there. I know all the camera crew will be there as well. And a life-size cutout of Brahms as well.
Perfect. Thank you again, Dan and Susan, for joining us. And we'll see you next time on BSO Backstage, a concert preview.
This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.